Hey everybody, welcome into the Beehive. I'm your host, TheBee at LLC, and this is where we stack precious metals like it's pollen and nectar. Today we have Ian Everard joining us from his brick and mortar store in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Let's bring him up. Ian, welcome in.
Hey there, LLC. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good.
Still got a heat wave going on, or?
Oh yeah, it was kind of cloudy today, so it didn't get quite as hot in the afternoon, but yeah, it's been pretty warm here lately. How about you?
Yeah, pretty warm and a bit of smoke. So I've not been keeping up with the news. I guess there's a fire somewhere sending smoke down or across from California.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Oh, okay, we got OTG. Welcome in, Gerald Draper. Thanks for coming in, guys. So, what's been going on in the shop there?
Fairly quiet shop-wise, but lots of phone calls, fair few trades from the advertising we do on YouTube.
Cool. So are we mostly seeing more gold moving or silver moving right now? What would you say there?
Silver, yeah. And
Really?
interestingly, some first-time purchases by people who are in retirement. Interestingly, there seems to be a resurgence in lack of trust in the banking system.
Yeah, that's kind of a questionable thing right now, how stable the banking system really is.
Yeah.
It seems to be that they're even having trouble trading in between themselves, which is never a good thing. Or
Well, I'm sure.
each other.
I mean, every banking crisis part of it, well, starts or is part of the causation is the banks don't trust their own position, so they presume everybody else is in as bad a position as they are.
Yeah, that's what I hear, and everybody has those side derivative bets going without really knowing how deep and far they go. So
no, because there's no transparency, is there? With those derivatives can be netted off. So theoretically, if they lose one position, it will mean they'll win on another position. But there's a presumption that your counterparty can pay that bet back. And I totally agree with Warren Buffett on his description of derivatives as weapons of mass destruction.
yeah, and it sure looking at this past since we left the gold standard, you could definitely say that about what's happened with us and the dollar being behind it, kind of. And I'm looking at making a little video and just kind of walking through it. Nixon, he says there that we're gonna stop the speculator from the dollar, which was just the dollar to gold. I mean, he kind of jumps around on some stuff there to kind of throw people off, but once he closed the gold window, and he says there just kind of right after that, of course we're going to be a fair and forward looking partnership to deal with. Trust our books, basically. Even though we're coming off the gold standard, we'll keep our books nice and solid and steady, and of course we'll be above board, and I mean, you might could that held for quite a while. I mean, right after, I guess we could, you have the petrodollar hook as well. But going back to then, if you back out to 2008, where I'm just watching, I'm going to take a little clip from Frontline, and Hank Paulson was saying, at this point we have to worry about the moral hazard. And I think that's funny, because obviously what he's saying is if the government just prints a bunch of money out of thin air, that is no longer being a fair, honest dealing trade. I mean, obviously there's been corruption a long time before that, but at 2008, it became pretty evident, right? That, if we're just going to print that much money out of thin air, there's a moral hazard there. And that's, that's just kind of telling it all. And now we've been, just open throttle since COVID. So if back when he first pulled us off of that gold standard, and we stayed solid for a while. I mean, basically at that point, we're just going off the belief of keeping our books credible, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Nixon only ever temporarily suspended, so it's still temporarily suspended. And I did hear somebody speak once that the reason it's only temporarily suspended, if it was permanently suspended, some countries would have the right to convert US debt or even US dollars into gold at the $35 ratio per ounce. Yeah. But because it's only temporarily suspended,
they can play the game of.
They can play the game. Yeah, this is only temporary. Everything will be back to normal. But for the citizens of the United States, the gold standard ceased, didn't it, in 1933?
Yeah.
So it was only the convertibility for foreign nations who had had enough dollars to make it worth their while.
Yep. And before the gold went, that's kind of a slow shutting off there. And prior to that, we had a silver standard from basically, man, you could run that all the way back to BC. I mean, I'm dealing in those ancient coins, and some of your very, very first coins were a mixture of silver and gold.
Yeah.
And I have
that was called a electrum, wasn't it?
Electrum, yep. And there's I have some thoughts on that, but then you move forward a little bit, and this King Croesus or Croesus, or however you would say his name, did two standards. He did a gold standard with a bunch of weights of metal, and then he did those same weights in silver standard. So we had a gold silver standard, and the silver went down to really minute small pieces for probably small purchases. But and then later, a few hundred years later, they went from those small, they quit the small silver pieces and went and got some bigger copper to kind of fill that void. But I mean, since then, for thousands of years, silver and gold have just been, that was money, and you just tied that back to common law.
Yeah.
I just heard Alistair McLeod. This is all going to probably be in my movie. I'm kind of killing my movie here, or my video, but he was saying that ties back to the 12 tables, which was like, I don't know what he said, 400 BC or something. And from there on, the next 1,000 years, it was more perfected. And then that just kind of became instituted as common law. And it's been basically, and that's just natural law. I mean, this is just kind of things that it's kind of like we put in the Constitution. We hold these things to be self-evident, right?
Yeah.
They're already, we're just talking about them. They're already, that we already know these are true, and everybody just kind of, this is just natural law.
Sure.
So, and it was natural money all up until now. And it's funny how they just stepped us off and stepped us off and stepped us off. And then we kind of just went on the promise of being we'll keep our books good. And then of course we know it was worse before 2008, but that's when it kind of broke out into the public eye that we're not being honest keepers here if we're just suddenly printing up a bunch of money for the too big to fail companies, this new word that pops out of nowhere where we got to cover for them, and so
I mean, you can go back, was it 1991 when long-term capital management went down? The system then was considered too big to fail. It was so systemic, the trouble they were in. All of the banks got together and they were told by the Federal Reserve, you're going to bail out long-term by this much and the other banks by that much. And the only ones that didn't agree was Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers actually tried to go through the courts and just claim what they thought they could get out of the wreckage. And they tried to scupper the whole deal. And that's why they were sacrificed in 2008, because they'd broken ranks with the club.
Yeah.
So the situation has been dodgy for a long, long time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, there was a whole, doing research for this, there's a bunch of more good information about the banks just been swallowing each other up ever since the, I can't think of what the name was, a Glass-Steagall Act, I think, or something was removed.
Yeah.
Where they can just eat each other up. So, yeah, there's been, and so now, like, I mean, the illusion is just so obvious at this point, that I think the power structure is starting to crumble a little bit. I know we probably might view a little bit different, but I just see that it's gaining in speed, and the power structure bringing, just like OTG was saying, you can see in some of, whether it be law enforcement or different angles, some of the weird policies companies are coming out with, you can see that corruption has crept in, and it's no longer between the customer and the seller, the company. It's now some back policy written in some. There's no more reality between people. And I think the more that carries on, the more extreme these things will become obvious. I don't know.
Yeah, and the whole corruptness of the system goes way beyond what we perceive as the law or government. It goes, in my opinion, way above Washington, way above the president.
Yep, I agree.
It's I mean, I don't know if it was JP Morgan, but I think I'm quoting right. Somebody famous said, give me the ability to create the currency. I care not who writes the laws.
Yeah.
Basically, they were saying whoever has that unique power to create currency from nowhere and then charge interest on it, they in effect have more power than the legal system of a country.
Yep. That's old Rothschild, I think, that was said that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And the excuse is still given, isn't it? Well, there's not enough gold or silver to replace the dollar, or it's impractical. But it isn't now with modern blockchain.
For sure.
You could easily have independently stored gold and silver and have it spendable on a debit card.
Yep.
I mean, it's being done. It's being done. I mean, I think some of the bigger ones aren't legal in the US yet. They're still facing banking challenges. So there's no excuse. You can't really say now with the modern computing and technology that it's not convenient. I guess the last excuse is it's not widely accepted.
Business stores. I mean, you got obviously all the banks are now gobbling it up because that is going to be the basis for what's coming. I don't know if you heard or not or seen. I'm sure you have, about the unit for the blockchain of BRICS being it's like 70, I think, percent backed by gold and other commodities.
But will it? You said the big gap I've got in even thinking this is a serious proposition is once a country makes its currency gold or even 70% backed, that ties their hands on creating currency out of nowhere. That means there's no gravy train for the politicians and the bankers.
Well,
for me to comprehend that Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and all the other nations that say they are joining want to actually become honest. I don't believe it. I don't believe that the Chinese Communist Party for 1 minute wants to become honest with their currency.
Yeah. Well, I see what you're saying, and that's a good point. I would say that I'm not sure that will transfer to the citizen. I think they may just use it to, like they're talking, do trade between countries.
Yeah.
They'll still have their own paper fiat currency that they can probably still manipulate pretty heavily.
Yeah, and maybe even pass laws that the citizens aren't allowed to have gold anymore.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. I mean, Yeah, I think
because we need enough of it in the central bank to back the currency by 70%.
Exactly.
Therefore, we need the gold. I mean, that was the argument. Yeah, that was the argument in 19.
Could have that. Yep.
The argument in 1934 when they declared it illegal for citizens to own silver. The reason they gave was they needed it to mint the coinage.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, as you know, about the 1933, I think it was May, wasn't it? There was a month window for people to hand in gold.
Yeah.
1934, and they rounded up the silver.
Okay, tell me a little about that. I'm not sure if I'm as familiar with that.
So, the excuse was there was a shortage of silver for the coinage, because obviously the coinage was 90% silver then.
Yeah.
And, you know, there wasn't credit cards or debit cards, and the bulk of transactions for the majority of people was physical cash. And probably for the bulk of those transactions, it was in a few dollars or less. So it would have been in metal.
Wow.
Hence why we have so much 90% still left now.
Yeah.
That's the residue. You know, most has been melted, but there still must be millions.
So they were asking people to bring in, obviously not their already made money, but like their silver teapots or their 100-ounce bar. I doubt they had.
They had to bring in silver bullion. Yeah.
Yeah, their bullion.
Yeah.
Was that like with gold? There was actually some legal.
Yeah,
not a lot, but a little bit.
And I doubt there was that much compliance.
Sure.
Yeah. And so you sort of circling back to the BRICS saying, oh, we're going to be backed by gold. It means nothing if this average citizen can't take their paper representation of a piece of gold and swap it for gold at a fixed rate. But if you think gold is traded around the world now, and that's probably why we're seeing it rise in dollars more than the system here would like it to rise, because other countries are buying it. The majority of gold is not mined in the US, although Nevada, I think it mines 15% of the world's gold. It's pretty high.
Oh, wow.
So to me, why would that give anybody confidence if they've lost confidence in banknotes for the government to say, oh, well, it's backed by gold now? Well,
yeah.
what does that mean?
I don't think it's going to give anybody confidence who doesn't have it. It's just more for me theologically trying to think through this.
Sure.
And I think that you're right, that it probably will be a separate thing. And who knows whether they'll have another, like you're saying, where they have tried to people turn in their bullion, because we got to do it for Mother Russia, bring in your gold, or however they're going to do it. But so maybe they'll confiscate gold there as well. But I more see that becoming the thing where governments and central banks, that's why they're buying, obviously, in my eyes, so heavily, is that it is for them, monetary is their number one. In fact, I hear it's now being moved into the next bracket up. It was already given a tier 1 asset. Now it's a tier 1 plus asset. I
hadn't heard that. Does that mean that's better than US debt?
Yes. It's as good as it's supposedly as good as liquid cash. That's what I heard. Now I don't know.
Okay.
But that's what I heard is the new thing, is they even moved it up there. Well, and it just did it overtake the dollar? I heard something about that too. Is now
it overtook the euro. So in central bank,
I knew it took the euro,
more gold in dollar terms than they do euros.
Okay, and I knew that was in the euro, but I wonder if that just happened with the dollar too, because I heard somebody talking about that. I might have misunderstood, but how big of a gap is there, I wonder, before it steps up above the dollar?
Yeah, I think we'll be a ways off that yet, unless the metals break free and we do get a run. Just by the sheer size of the dollar worldwide. I mean, the figures just are hard to comprehend, aren't they? $600 trillion of assets under management.
Right.
But we've only got was it 11 trillion, 12 trillions worth of gold?
Yeah. Yes, and that, but until they decide that they want to remonetize that, and then boom, you're you're way down. But then, you know, for like you say, what does that do for the not anything for the common person that doesn't have it, you know? And then once, even for the person that has it, then you have to wonder what will happen at that point for them. But it'll definitely do nothing for the person who doesn't. Well, it will impoverish them that much faster. I mean, it will suddenly be you're locked out for good. And well, you know, or at least at a ridiculous price, you know, if it revalues overnight. So yeah, it's not positive necessarily for the people. Why I was saying about the unit and that is just like we were talking about, you know, money being common money, and when this thing is starting to come unraveled, and you know, whether the BRICS works or not, they want to get it away from the dollar. It's become an issue worldwide. People see what's going on with it, how it's being used as a weapon. So, you know, I think that like Rafi says, there's nothing else to tie it to. You have to have prices. You got to go. If you just say, you know, it has to have a relative place to value everything from. We have to tie it back.
Yeah.
From, you know, so.
Yeah, I always remember hearing Rafi Farber talking about ultimately the dollar as a derivative of gold because it derives its value from gold, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and so I think that that's what this is showing is no, we're not just a bunch of what we would be labeled gold bugs who are making that we still just want it to be of value. So no, it's the reality because there's nothing else there. And when you get to this point where you've not only are working off of a paper with no value, just your promise, now your promise is, like I'm saying, it's obviously broken. It's obviously we're printing out of thin air. It's obvious not that we're being honest looking trading partners. So at least for those points, you know. So
yeah, but look at the, you know, I mean, I'll probably get known for the ultimate BRICS basher, but you look at China, the amount of currency debasement we've done, it's estimated theirs is 3 to 5 times worse.
Sure. Sure.
How are they going to quantitative tighten, take 4/5 of the renminbi, the yuan out of circulation? They can't.
Yeah, I don't know.
They've got a liquidity crisis already with all the regions. They're not getting the amount of income they were getting from leasing land to developers because that's sort of ground to a halt. They're paying out huge repayments on vast projects. All of the regions have done. Some of them will never actually pay back. So I would say if we think America is financially bankrupt, which it probably is, China's in a way worse situation.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't argue that. And as far as the currencies, I really am not smart enough to follow the currencies and the trades. And I'm just looking like from a really high view and trying to picture where the metals, you know, because that's what I'm, you know, where our focus is, how it ties in. And, you know, is it really, am I in the right place? Is there any real value to gold or silver? And so that's where I'm coming from. And I'm just seeing that, yes, that's why the central banks are buying it. How it will affect, you know, you and me. Well, I'm out here trying to tell people to get into it while they have a chance to, you know, because this might be a possibility.
Well, fundamentally, I you know, from the history I know, and please correct me if anybody knows otherwise, I don't think there's ever been such an industrial demand for silver. The demand previously has always been for coinage. If you go way back, I think into the early, oh my gosh, I think you're going back to 1600 and something. There was one mountain in Mexico, and for 200 years, 80% of all the silver produced came from that one mountain. But the bulk of that went into coins to make physical money.
Reals or
so
something.
I think that was the period in history where the biggest demand for silver was coins to make, units of money that were enabled more and more trade to happen. Well, now that's ceased, isn't it? I mean, the last country was that, I think, Canada, in the mid 70s, took the last of the silver out. We took out the 40% silver. 1970 was the last year. So we've now had over 50 years of the governments haven't needed silver for coinage. But now we've transitioned into thousands of uses for silver that are not just using it, they're destroying it.
Yes. And so
whereas the coinage, people were pretty careful. I mean, you're going to find a few dropped, but the bulk of all of the coins ever minted, that silver has either been recycled or it's still available. But so we weren't destroying silver. And I think even in photography, a lot of the silver was recycled.
Okay. So
when we switched to digital photography and there was a big drop off, then there was a surplus in silver. But now we're running at a 100, 200 million ounce deficit.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've ever had this position in history where a monetary metal, and silver is a monetary metal, is being destroyed.
Yeah, and so check this out. So yeah, I would agree. A bunch of industrial demand, solar and electric and all this stuff. And get this. So I know they've taken silver off the now I can't think of the word, but being a crucially important metal. And
I know the U.S. Geological Survey didn't put it on a critical minerals list, and it's like, you what? And they're the very same organization that have stated that silver will be the first element to become practically extinct.
Yeah, and so get this, before they took it off, they used to list, as you say, as a critical mineral or whatever, and a metal. And but the military, when they took it off, was using like over 1 million ounces a year, and that was after World War II for military purposes.
Yeah.
And now you look at what's cranking militarily, and we haven't been logging, or they took it off the list, as we said. So now we don't know, and the military no longer lists.
They don't have to list it.
No,
right.
They used to, but then from this they didn't have to anymore. And so if they were at 1 million ounces, then think about, you hear the talk about how much, silver is in some of these missiles. And of course, I don't make them, so I don't know. But I'm sure there is plenty of silver used throughout the military complex. I don't doubt that.
I've heard the figure on a cruise missile repeatedly. I've heard the figure 500 ounces.
I've heard that several times too. But if it was 1 million then, and aren't we at like 8 million ounces mined a year right now?
800.
800. Okay. So
yeah. So World War II, Congress signed in secret and allowed the US military, I think it was 2 billion ounces. And that was used to make the electromagnets and they call them calatrons for enriching the uranium.
Yeah.
And then that was supposed to be taken back, converted back into the ingots and put back in the US Treasury, because a lot of that was the backing for silver certificates. I've not seen any research saying the silver ever went back into the Treasury. I did see a documentary where they only dismantled the calatrons in the late 80s, early 90s. And coincidentally, the figures for the US mine production and the figures for recycling spiked incredibly high for around 3 years. And in fact, some of the data said no data available. And I'm making the presumption that that's how they dumped the silver from that military product, from the military project to enrich the uranium, the Manhattan Project.
Yeah,
because that was 2 billion ounces.
Wow. I seen some charts that they showed those kind of magnetic huge runs.
Yeah, it wasn't what the electromagnets, they said they needed to use silver because the copper was needed for the war effort, but I think they needed the silver because it's the highest conductivity.
Yeah.
And the size of the windings, they were rectangular section. I think they were like 12 inches by 2 inches. You know, we sort of imagine electromagnet as wires. These were huge sections of silver.
Yeah. Yeah, and so lots of different ways silver is going to come into demand. And so 800 million a year is our mining rate right now, and we're does that leave us like 200 million here the last few years deficit, right? Am I right on that?
Figures from 100 to 250.
Okay.
I mean, the Silver Institute, I think they produce some good work, but I do think they guess what the recycling is.
Okay, yeah,
and so I think the deficit might have been running for longer than the last 3-4 years anyway, because they've overstated for whether it was accidentally or deliberately, they've overstated the amount of recycling.
Sure, and I think that if you look at all the different, like from the solar panels, they tried to get it as cheap as they could, and now they're going the other way. Like, no, let's double up our silver. That's the way to be most efficient. And I think you're going to see that throughout a lot of the green push, where you try to see how little you can go. But now you see a lot of little inefficiencies throughout, even in the electric cars, where you're not getting the distance or this or that, where they're going to say, just put the silver in to make it efficient. And so those, I just see that growing, and we're already kind of behind. So,
particularly on solar panels, the Saudis, their sovereign wealth fund, they're going to invest heavily of huge solar farms. And if you've got the right climate, it makes cheap electricity, even if silver was 10 times the price. I mean, I've heard figures of 20 grams per panel. So 20 grams, so that's just under 2/3 of an ounce. So $20 for the silver in a several $100 panel that produces electricity for 30 or 40 years.
Right.
It wouldn't matter if silver is 10 times the price. I don't think that will reduce the demand for solar panels.
I agree. You're right. Right. Good point.
And that's part of an unusual situation. We've got an inelastic supply and inelastic demand. The demand is not really that price sensitive, because if you can't make your product without silver, you either shut up and shut your business down, or you pay what you have to pay to get your silver.
Right. Yep. I tell you, the more I look into it, the more I think about it, the more happy. And it's looking really strong right now too. Like gold just took a nice little run. Silver's just holding up there above 30, still nice and strong. So
yeah, I mean, interesting. The gold silver ratio is stretched out a bit again. Gold is up on the week. Silver is down on the week. So I think there's some definite action to try and prevent that $32 mark. I mean, our week high was $31.78. Week low $30.08, and we're around the 30-40s at the moment. So with the volatility and the movement, I think when it breaks $32, I think there's going to be some panic setting in the leading financiers who desperately trying to keep the population convinced that fiat currencies are
right.
Nothing to worry about, nothing to see here.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting a little close to that edge as well. All right, so I wanted to look at the osmium piece and talk a little bit about it. So I got a little video here I'm going to share, and we can talk about it. Okay, let me find that. Okay. So we got a box delivered to us here personally from Ian of ARK S.G.O. So we got something special inside this one. Excited to get into.
It's another box.
Double boxed.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
There's something so precious, you'd expect it to be very safe. There you go.
Very, very, very safe.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this looks familiar. Boxed up in here. Do you want to do the honors?
Mom, do you?
I think that's for Mom, right?
It is.
It's in the camera. Yep, you're good. Very packaged. Ooh.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. Real osmium?
Get it in the light there. Let me zoom in on that. Cool. We'll have to get it up close here in a second.
It really shows up.
Oh boy.
I didn't really pick this spot because now it's glass. That's the problem.
That's a good idea.
This man right here.
Hold on. So we got a box. Okay, so I just wanted to point out some of those. So you can see as this is moving around a little bit, the constellations, different constellations pop out. And each piece, you know, has its own constellation. So let me.
That's the problem.
That's a good idea.
Okay, guys. So we have a breakthrough on the back here. You can see this little crack right here. And so it's split. And if it, let me see if I can speed this up a bit. See if I can show. It's not going to be it, but yeah, so it did split all the way through. And you can kind of see it from the front side as well. Right here, you can see through the back and see some of the sparkle on the front side. But so, yeah, what happened? So, you know, I bought this. This is a double-sided piece, and you really can't see it all that well on the front side. If you get it right at the right angle, there is a, I think it has came apart all the way through. You really can't see it on the front side. But so I bought this star, and we talked about it. And I talked with Ian about it, and I said he noticed that it was one of the first pieces that had sparkle grade on both sides. And so that got me really excited, and I talked him into letting me have this unique piece. And of course, I wanted to push the limits, and when I mentioned it needed to be on a pendant double-sided, so you know, if it flips over, it's still fine on both sides. I thought that was kind of cool, so I wanted to be able to make it visible on both sides. And so I remember him saying, well, it should probably have a back, but I kind of kept going on how cool it would be, this double-sided piece. You got to have it visible on both sides. So I talked him into making it into this pendant. And then Ian somehow talked a jeweler into trying to put it in without a back on it, just kind of open on both sides, crimped around the edges. And obviously this is where I pushed the limit a little bit far. And must be that you know, he had it made. I know it was kind of, I'll let Ian fill in the info here, but I know it was kind of pushed last minute, and he came down to Colorado and visited, and he was asking him to get it done, and it kind of got done last minute, and you know, it wasn't noticed until I opened it up that it was broke. So, but the cool thing about this is that I've been asking lots of questions and wanting to learn about osmium, and I think I got some answers here, and I'm glad that it happened to me, and you know, instead of someone else. You know, and I think that it's you know, now we can tell people, you know, you got to be careful. It is somewhat what would you call it, brittle, I guess. And then so you know, with after this happened, I was talking to Ian a little bit about it, and he was talking about the how it's made and the crystalline structure and how it's built up slowly. And so I'm wondering, and I'm going to ask you, Ian, I'm wondering, the way you talked about being this was double-sided, and that we think, you know, maybe it had a kind of a thin base, and then that heavy crystallization on top of that just made not much for a foot to hold it together. It just kind of went from really fine grain to large crystals, making the wherever that, you know, large crystals started kind of a line through in that thin area, allowing it to not have a strong foot and allowing it to break apart a little bit. So yeah, I think that might be what happened, in that, you know, he crimped it into place. And I don't know if you guys have worked much, like if you think about fiberglass, how you, if it breaks, well, you can kind of bend it one way, but if you go to bend it back, you can't really push those crystalline fibers back to where they were. It would almost push it apart or come apart. So I think that's kind of probably what happened. I wonder what you think about that, Ian, where it is double-sided like that. I wonder if they took their first take and made it really fine and looked at the piece and thought, I wonder if we can grow something on the back of this piece.
No, they from talking to Rolf, who does the crystallization, they do it in 4.5-inch discs, and then the discs are sent from Switzerland to the Institute in Germany, where they look at them under a microscope. They cut the pieces according partially to the demand.
Oh, okay, I see.
And the sparkle grade required, because the sparkle grade is 1 to 5. So the crystallization on the base was not deliberate, but I think the combination of not having a smooth base on the piece and then the coarser crystals on the other side, we've pushed it beyond its physical limits.
Yeah.
You know, you can bend the osmium once or twice, and then you might start breaking bits off. So looking at the leverage there, working with the 14-karat gold, it was just too much physical stress on it.
Right.
Thankfully, the side that matters still looks really awesome. So.
Oh man, yeah, it's yeah. I actually still quite like the piece, and it reminds me. Now it's kind of personalized.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the star that fell, and his tail drew a third part of the stars with him, and you look into those constellations and being a star. So,
and Rick, my goldsmith, he was trying to achieve to cover the minimum of the osmium as well. So he was, I think, stretching the parameters. A delicate shape like this would be much better with a solid back, where you've got a physical support and you're not flexing the osmium whilst you're doing the setting process, whilst you're just turning the edge of that gold over.
Indeed. And like you said, maybe even a more pure metal, like at least an 18. For me, I think I'd go 22 at least.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you went to that would be a lot softer metal to
metal. Yep.
But I think the lesson is don't bend the osmium.
Exactly. Yeah. And the obvious thing to do is put a back underneath it and fold up it, and that just makes it solid and holds it together. And there's no, you know, don't be ridiculous like I was there and try to push it.
I wouldn't say it was ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad I did it, because
I mean, we haven't looked at it under a microscope. I think there could be if not a fault, just a slightly deeper valley on the coarse side.
Thanks, OTG. Yeah, yeah, and I think after listening to you, talk about it and how it's in the crystallization process, it that makes a lot more sense. How there's going to be and so let's tell the people a little bit about that. In that, so you can have pieces that are built up a little bit just as a foot, and then they start kind of growing the crystallization more heavy from that, making them, that would be a bit stronger of a piece.
It's I mean, the process, it's fairly proportional to how long they run the process, how big the crystals grow, and I think there's a bit of art as well as a heck of a lot of science in the whole process.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You're not making an exact crystallization. I mean, if you think Rolf, he's working with this osmium in vapor form at over 9,000 Fahrenheit in a system where it cannot come into contact with any contaminants. So probably huge pressures as well as incredible temperatures. It's amazing he's still alive, actually, that he's been doing this for 40 years, developing this process.
Yeah, it was interesting how you were talking about he kind of coaxes it along to a certain stage, and then you can kind of increase how it crystallizes, I guess. So it'd be very interesting to
and they did make a leap last year in the production efficiency, and that's when they reduced the price with the fork. It didn't actually drop that much, but they did remunerate anybody who previously bought was given 51% physical osmium as compensation, even though the price soon actually recovered past what it was before they made the price reduction to reflect the increased production rate.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I still love it. It's an absolutely gorgeous piece, but I'm glad I found out that information on me, and someone else might have been fairly disappointed with that, but for me it was just a little bit of still what I want, but I got some information along with it, so I'm still happy with it. But
it's for anybody watching this now or later, is really, I mean, you can see just a little bit of sparkle there, but to the naked eye in sunlight, it's what, 4 or 5 times as sparkly, isn't it?
Yeah, camera cannot catch it all. For
you will, a camera would, but an ordinary phone hasn't got the lens size. I think that's the issue to capture.
Yeah, and even just with this lamp light here, you can see how that almost looks like the light is coming out of the piece. I mean, so
I've had a few people ask, "Wow, how's that lit up from inside?"
You're lighting the back of that, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very, very cool piece still. And hey, Stuart, welcome in. Imagination Hobby is good to see you. Tiger Stacker, thanks for being here. So yeah, okay, what do we got? We got about 10-11 minutes left here. Let's what do you got new on your desk there? You got any good silver deals? You got any cool pieces we're looking at? Oh, and I wanted to mention, so I got a couple pieces here too, and someone needs to contact me. This is set aside for someone already, but these are so beautiful. These heart pieces are just these sell like hotcakes, Ian. I need some more of these.
I will get some on order. Let me take a note.
And yeah, and let's see what else you got on your desk there for.
I haven't actually got any silver on the desk. That's
That's unusual.
Yeah, I've normally got yeah. Oh, I have, just to make a distraction, I pulled this out the safe today. I was going to get your opinion on this. I know you've Can you see
Oh
that?
yeah, that's a oh, and it's got the head on the bottom. Yeah, I like those. That's awesome. I'll be interested in that, Ian. Let me see the back here, and how well is that? The nose of the dolphin and the head, his head is a little cut, and the thing he's holding is a little bit out of the flange, so that takes away from bit. But man, that's a nice piece all around. Oh, that's a nice piece. Very cool.
Oh, that's like where it's sort of struck off center, is that?
Yeah, a little bit, but man, what a nice piece. Look at you got some nice what do you call it? Nice finish on there. A nice strike and a quite nice finish. Still, I can't think of the face of it, whatever you call it. For some reason, my mind goes blank sometimes. Yeah. So, what does the label? Drop the label down. Let me get the full. Yeah. A Calabria. How do I say that? I can't remember now. I still can't even after seeing it. Yeah, now I say it some other way. But yeah, those have been. They've been on the market as of late, 280 to 240 BC. I think there was a pretty good horde of those found because those have been kind of heavy in the market lately.
Right.
That's a very nice, extra fine. Okay, yeah, it's not a bad grade. So yeah, very cool, nice piece.
Yeah, it was one of the dealers I buy from. He persuaded me. I knew zero about ancient coins, and I probably know zero still now. So when I saw that, I thought I'll ask. Long lived.
Yeah, no, it's a nice piece. I'm interested in. Do you have that other piece with you too, or is that?
Oh, the one we traded for.
Yeah.
I have. Here we go.
Show people that. Oh, look at there. He's just getting into it. Nice. Receipt.
Yeah, it should be in here. Ancient stator from Cilicia.
Yep.
Oh, that's from Tarsus as well.
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
So I'll be making a Tarsus collection.
Yeah, and Tarsus is the biblical Tarshish.
The biblical, sorry?
Tarshish?
Yeah.
Same thing.
Well, you do wrap your...
Yeah, and the ancient will be in the... that, yep. That's a vinyl archival quality paper, so you can keep it in there to keep it away from air. That's what I use.
Oh, wow. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, exactly. Imagination hobbies. Yep, and show them the other side too. The other side on that is they're both good, but the other side is the really nice quality piece on that piece. Yep, that's really a nice piece there on that side. I think that's the piece I got on all my spin and bin covers.
Yeah, because
I love the separation when if you take it out of there and look at the edges. Where it gets smashed, you can see the little fractures around the edge, and that's one of my favorite things.
Just from the stress of the strike.
Yes, yep. I love that about those. Very cool.
How pure are these? Are these
so they vary a little bit, but generally they're like 98% or above. They're actually really pure for that time.
And then it will be lead will be the alloy in that, or
I don't know, but I know that that's one of the ways they look at testing them is they, take an XRF to it. And I think it, generally it has some unique whatever elements that aren't in our modern silver. And that's one of the ways you can see. But
thank you so much. That's a beautiful coin.
It is. It was one of my first pieces, and I was happy with it. I bought another one. I actually quite like that coin and that design. So very cool.
And that strike, that's just the off-center strike there.
A little bit, but that's not bad. That's not bad there. A little bit off, but not bad at all.
And this is 361 to 334 BC.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So that's add another 2,350, 60 years old there.
It makes this one look pretty ordinary.
Well, it's cool. It's cool to see the different, what they have for their different symbols. I love the face on the one that you have. That's like a it's not a what do they call it? But it's not like a privy mark for them. They actually use those, or one of the things that they think they used them for was the treasury would put, like, that one has a face on it. Some will have a torch on it, or some will have
under the horse.
Yeah. Yep. That face. Oh, and it might not be a very, that's a pretty good image of the face you can see coming out. And they would use that, supposedly the treasury, that they would put different, that was a head, then they might put a torch next time, and that was kind of how they kept their batches numbered. Like, that was from batch this.
So what we would call a privy mark.
Kind of like that, but they had a few different things. I can't think of the names of them right now. I'm so bad, but they had a couple different marks, and one was kind of just to show the area, one was to show the mint, and then kind of the one we're talking about was more just kind of for the treasury to keep track of their coinage, supposedly. But so very, very interesting stuff. There's so much I have to learn about those yet, so I'm still
you've got me hooked already, because I know
Awesome.
when we were talking, you mentioned, was it your coin expert guy?
Yeah.
He didn't think that ordinary stackers would be interested in ancient coins, and
it's not a definite crossover, that's for sure. Yeah.
I think I've proved him wrong.
Well, good though. That's what I'm trying to do out here, for sure.
Yeah.
Exciting to see. I fall in love with them for sure. So. And I like getting it in your hand like that, holding something that is that many years old, and the connection I get from the imagery, it really does something as far as collecting coins, something that I've never experienced with any other coin I get out of those ancients, for sure. But okay, Ian, well, this is winding out. Let's go through some. If you got some silver deals, what are you looking at? Where are you at?
So our lowest premium on bulk orders, we're around $1.14 on wholesaler's choice 1 ounce silver rounds, 10 ounce bars as well, as low as $1.14. So those are still better value than the kilos or 100 ounce bars.
Okay.
So things are a bit upside down at the moment. It's just because with the rise in spot, there's been some selling into the wholesale market.
Yeah, I've heard that.
My wholesaler, they've got their own mint, so if they can sell it for a little bit above spot, they will, or if they can't, they will melt it and make something new out of it. And then there's still a few of the 2023 King Charles Britannias left at $2.50, which I think is a great price. 2023 was a shared mintage. Charles had to share with the Queen, even though the Queen died in 2022. So I think those are a pretty good deal at the moment. And then after that, we'll only have the 2024s, and they jump about 30 cents.
Okay, beautiful, great deals. I suppose you don't have anything. I could grab them, but I have some of your products, and I don't know how much of a premium. If you're getting low on those, you might need to add some premium to them. But he has some very nice ARK pieces as well, unique 10 ounce, 2 ounce. I don't know if you have any more of those in stock, but those are unique pieces.
We do have some 10 ounce ARK bars, mixed emotions, to be honest.
I noticed last time I talked with you about that, you were a little reluctant to get rid of those.
Yeah. Still, Jim Forsyth was making those over in Maryland. He built his own mini mint, learned how to use all the the casting machines and everything.
And you even have a video with him going through that stuff.
Did a video on Gold Silver Pros, yeah, making the Gold Silver Pros limited edition bar. So that was, we took Rob and I flew in, and with the 100,000 ounce bar, that silverback had processed.
Wow.
So we cut it up, we melted it, turned it into shot, weighed it, put it into the molds, cast it, stamped, polished, indexed, and wrapped. We did the whole process in a day.
Wow, very cool, very cool. Yeah, I can imagine wanting to hold on to some of those too. All right, well, Ian.
Well, yes, we do have a few we can sell. Yeah, the rule number one is don't get attached to your inventory.
Right, right. That's a unique condition. So, yeah. But yeah.
Oh, OTG's just asked, there is a spending threshold for free shipping. I'm negotiable. I do try and really help out the small stackers. So if we can absorb the shipping and insurance, we will.
Give him a call, and yeah, he's been beyond helpful to me and generous, and he's a local coin shop that you want to build a relationship with for sure.
Okay, I'm sure we'll be able to help you out, OTG.
Awesome. And anybody else looking for gold, silver, osmium, precious metals? You even got some good platinum in, I think, last time. I don't know. You still got some platinum?
Yeah, we still got some. Although these are growing on me, I'm getting attached to my inventory. We still got some half ounce platinum eagles.
Oh, nice. I've got a quarter.
I've got a quarter and a half in this bag. So yeah, that's the $50 half ounce.
Cool.
I never realized how beautiful they were.
Yep. They're very nice. I
think they're going to do very well, because it looks like the U.S. Mint is even going to stop doing the 1 ounce business strikes. I don't think they're doing any this year, and as I've heard talk, they may not be doing any more, and they stopped the fractionals a while ago.
Wow.
So
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that as well. That might be a new. Few people have brought that up. That's kind of piqued their interest a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, platinum is a good deal, as I'm sure Neil will tell us. It's
no doubt
around $1,000. I think its all-time high was 2,700.
Okay.
So if you inflation adjust it, it's not even a third of its all-time high.
Yeah, I think it's a good buy as well. So.
Talking to a friend who does a lot in the medical industry, and he was saying there's a shortage of platinum-based drugs. And he can't work out why, because the profit margin on them is so high. And all he could work out is that the medical industry is having trouble getting platinum, which doesn't really make sense, does it? There's something, there's a mismatch there somewhere.
Yeah. Sounds like it. Awesome. Well, that's about all I got for you tonight. What do you want to leave us with anything as we get out of here?
Yeah. When are you going to start making some beehive stuff?
As soon as you get me word back whether they're willing to cut me some we'll
get you some small hexagons cut.
I'll sell them like
guaranteed
liquid honey. So just you bring them to me and I'll move them. I think
okay.
They're very beautiful pieces. I would love to get in that line, and
I think so.
That would be great. That would be awesome. Awesome, Ian. Thanks for coming and letting us know what's going on.
You are very welcome, LLC.
I will be getting in touch with you soon to have you back on. Everybody in chat out there, thank you so much for hanging out with us, and give Ian a call for any of your precious metals needs, and we will see you on the next one.
Hang on. An announcement. It looks like we've got the first order to make a 28 domino set with 168 osmium diamonds in. So that's quite an exciting lighthouse project. So
Very cool. I was so impressed with those dice. You should get me a picture of a good picture of that, or I would like to show those off a little bit. I was really impressed with those. So you need to get a video of those up somehow. So.
Okay.
Very cool. Awesome, Ian. I know I like Tiger. Man, he should have one of those. I don't know what they're going to be going for. It's probably pretty pricey, but they're very nice quality from what I could see. So, okay, what else?
That's it.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.